in Mexico City, beautiful country. And I want to start by thanking Christian and the whole team for this truly remarkable event. And I mean this literally. I think this is an event that when I go back to the States, I'll be telling others about. So remarkable in the literal sense of the word. And I also want to thank you, the audience, because I'm here to serve you. Basically, without you being here, I'd be speaking to an empty room, and that would be very strange. So thank you. And what I'll do in the next 30, 40 minutes is I'll tell you about a very simple but powerful message, and it is to understand your customers as people. You probably understand your customers in terms of how many there are, segmentation, how much they shop, and so on. What I'll be talking to you about is understand your customers as people holistically, understand their emotions, understand their needs, their desires, understand what they need to accomplish, and then you will truly be serving their best interest. And I guarantee you, if you do that, your business will grow, and your customers will not only buy from you, they will tell their friends also. All right, so I like the picture here, but let's get the slides going. So my understanding is that there's many people from different industries here. So who is here from retail? Retailers? Okay. Fashion? Okay. Sports goods? Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, now it works. Great, so this conference is obviously very rich in a lot of content. So we have digital marketing, we have payments, we have logistics, we have platforms and technology. And what do you think makes all of that common? What ties it together? And I would argue that what ties it together is the customers. So this is why we're doing what we're doing, right? Why we're doing logistics, why are we doing payments? So that we can serve our customers. That's the unifying theme. There's also a lot of debate and a lot of myths when it comes to stores versus digital. Right? A lot of companies have their stores with their own logistics, with their own payments even, with their own marketing sometimes, and then they have to do online, right? Some companies do it better than others. Usually it's separate departments. It's maybe different silos, different groups. So here, for example, this is interesting. It was in the news recently that Amazon now is going to start delivering alcohol. You can go figure. Right? We cannot go to the store, we need it right now, so Amazon Prime will deliver the alcohol in 2 hours. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it's happening. But what is the thing that, again, unifies all of this? And I would argue, it's again the customers. It is, you know, it is the customers that we're serving when we do these different activities. So let's ask this simple question: who is the customer? And I'll do a brief quiz here. So we have some customers that shop only in stores, and some customers that shop only online, and some customers that shop both online and in stores. And I'm talking just about the US. And this is from our research that we've done at Zappos. But we've surveyed tens of thousands of people. So show of hands, who thinks that most people shop in stores, only in stores? Okay, we have some brave people here. Who thinks, again, I'm talking about the US, who thinks most people shop only online? Okay. And who thinks most people shop both online and in stores? Jeez, have you guys seen my presentation? This is amazing. It was, when we first did the research, it was a surprise for me. Because Zappos is an online company, so we go online, and when we do the research and we ask people, where do you shop? Only 6% say online only. That's crazy, right? So, for example, we, Zappos, as an online company, have to consider the fact that most people shop in stores as well. And what does that mean for our business? But for me, this was eye-opening. This is something that I never expected, and we did through understanding our customers and through research. So when we talk about understanding customers, when we talk about even logistics, payments, everything, technology changes very quickly. And methods change very quickly. But what I would argue is that what stays constant is people and culture. Our brains developed maybe tens of thousands of years ago, and they haven't changed much since then, I guarantee you. Our technology has changed, but the way we think, about the way we experience emotions, has not changed a lot. So when we understand people at a deeper psychological level, then we'll have more of a chance to really serve them really well. And so Zappos is a company that was built on that premise that when you make customers happy, and when you make employees happy, and when you make vendors happy, then the business will grow. And that was established almost 17 years ago. That's how it started. And this is exactly what Zappos looks like. You'll see some other videos and some pictures. It's a pretty crazy place, but it's because it's all about the culture, and you heard Terry Jones talk about the culture yesterday. And in Zappos' culture, everybody is encouraged to be themselves, and that translates into better business outcomes. So when I talk about Zappos, I'll use Simon Sinek's model of the Golden Circle, and he has a great TED Talk. I encourage you to go and check it out. The talk is called Start With Why. And in that model, he says that really great companies, when they talk about what they do, they don't start with the products they make. They start with why they exist. And the example he gives is Apple, for example. A while ago, it used to be called Apple Computer, but that they dropped the computer part. Guess why, right? They're making many more things now. So they didn't want to box themselves in just this image. So when they talk about their purpose, they say Apple exists to innovate and to break the rules and to transform the way people live and to make people happier. How they do it through impeccable quality. They do it through design. They do it through customer centricity, owning the full spectrum of the process, from making the hardware to making the software. Everything works seamlessly. And what they do is they used to make only computers, and then they started making music devices, and now they're making phones, they're making watches, and at some point they'll probably start making toothbrushes, right? Or maybe even smart combs. Like, that's one thing that a pet peeve of mine is nobody has been innovating on combs, right? And I'm really upset about that, as you can tell. I can use a better comb. So using this framework, Zappos exists simply to make customers happy. It's as simple as that. And you can see how when this is your mission, all the decisions then you're making will follow from that. And then when we talk about how we do things, first and foremost, Zappos has probably the best customer service in the United States, at least. And this was a decision made in the very early stages of existence. And Zappos started selling shoes online when nobody believed shoes could be sold online, and a lot of things could go wrong. And people couldn't believe that you can look at a picture online and buy a shoe and it arrives and everything is fine, right? Even nowadays, some people say, I would only buy shoes in stores. I need to touch them, I need to feel them. So when one thing went wrong one time, and this woman was upset, then the customer service rep really apologized, and they made it better for that customer. And that customer wrote an email, and then the subject of the email was, wow, you guys literally said, I mean, this was like 15 years ago. They said, wow, you guys screwed up, but you made it better, and now I'm really happy about this. So since that time, they had the realization, okay, many people can sell shoes. Shoes are the same. You can buy them in Nordstrom's, you can buy them anywhere. But what will make us different is great customer service. We also sell a lot of shoes. And yeah, this is truly a search renders 132,000 results, which is great, but also for the user experience can present an issue. How do you pick? But that's a different story. Zappos also innovates in terms of customer experience. So this is an app that was developed where you see somebody walking around with shoes you like, you take a picture, and then you send the picture to the Zappos customer service, and then they do the research and find out what that shoe is and whether you can buy it from Zappos. And if you cannot buy it from Zappos, the Zappos customer service will help you buy it from another store. I mean, think about this. From a competitor, and it's okay. And last but not least, Zappos innovates and makes customers happy by deeply understanding the customers. And we do this, of course, by doing a lot of research. And I head up the customer research at Zappos. And we'll talk a little bit about research. But before that, again, I want to do a little interactive exercise here, a little poll. How many of you work for companies that have a research department? Okay, not too many. How many of you talk to customers or try to understand customers? Okay, that's great. You don't need to have a special team. You can really talk to customers and understand their needs. And is it mostly B2C, consumer businesses? Okay. So before we go into the research part, I want to talk a little bit about silos. Is that a thing in Mexico, the silos? So this is a US thing. In the Midwest, they have these big containers where they keep all the grains, right? They call them silos. So it's a common business expression in the States to have the different parts of the organization being like silos. And you can see this is a pretty lonely, sad picture, right? Okay, let me ask you another question. How many of you go to work thinking, okay, today I'm gonna send this email and I'm gonna say something bad about Jorge, or I'm gonna make Jose look bad. How many of you like corporate politics? Oh, I have one honest guy. Two, wow, that's great. When I ask this in the States, then everybody's like, I don't know. We usually don't enjoy corporate politics, right? You know, gossip and one against the other and so on. But usually in organizations, especially big organizations, we have these groups, these silos, right? And that's exemplified by the org chart. You guys have org charts here, right? In organizations, that's the structure, you can see it. It's names in boxes, right? And these boxes are separate, right? So you can see here, I've given an example of we have a different marketing organization and different product organization. And these organizations usually have their separate research groups. So when you do research to understand customers, usually those people are not talking to each other because the head of marketing has their own people, the head of product has their own people, and they have their own budgets, and they do their own thing, right? But why is that a problem? It can be a big problem if you ask the question, who is our customer? Because when you go to, let's say, the market research person and you ask who is our customer, they may say our customer is somebody who responds to our ads, right? Then you go to the web analytics person and say, who is our customer? And they say, the customer is somebody who converts at a certain rate, who clicks on the buttons, right? Who spends a certain amount of time on the website. And when you go to the user researcher, UX researcher, then may say a customer is somebody with these needs, with these feelings. And you see how these look kind of like silos, right? They're separate. And that's similar to the fable of the blind man and the elephant. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but it's an old fable where a king summoned a few blind men and told them, go and touch one part of the elephant, touch an elephant, and come back and I'll ask you what an elephant is. So guess what happened? When they came back, they touched one part of the elephant. Then the king asked, what is an elephant? And one person said, an elephant is like a big tree, because they were hugging the leg. And the other person said, no, you're very wrong, you're wrong. An elephant is like a big wall, right? And another one said, you are wrong, you both are wrong. You know, an elephant is like a big snake. So you see the problem, right? They couldn't see the big picture. So what is the big idea? Going back to what I mentioned at the beginning. The big idea is understanding your customers as people and break down the silos when it comes to understanding your customers. And that's something that hopefully you'll take away from here and you'll act on this in your organizations. How can you break those silos? And when somebody says, no, we do this differently, then you can say, well, aren't we talking about the same person? The same person, not the same shopper, right? So that's the big idea. And so the question is, how do we get from here to here? The customer is a person, and everybody is looking at the same person. So this is a very important point here when you say, do not study and research your shopper, because the shopper is the person in the context they're just using your app or they're going to the store, right? And then they go home and then they put on the clothes that they bought and now they don't fit, the shoes don't fit, and then they call your customer service and now they're the caller, right? They were the shopper, now then they're the caller, then there's something else, but they're the same person. And that's the main idea. So when you do that, it's really important to understand that company culture matters. That's what Terry Jones was saying yesterday. And so here I'll give you a brief video of the Zappos culture, and at the end of it, it goes pretty fast, and I'll just reiterate the main point. So if you guys can play the video.
It is hot. It is hot here right now. Hey, what's going on? It's Kristen Wistia. Today we're going to be hanging out with Zappos to learn about how they've built an epic company culture that is the core driver of their business and how they've built this strong culture from the ground up.
Some companies talk about work-life separation or work-life balance, and for us, our approach is really to focus on work-life integration, because at the end of the day, it's just life.
The Zappos culture is unlike anything else I've ever seen. We joke that it's happier than Disney.
It's like a family. It's like this big family, and we're happy to see each other. We come to work, we enjoy it, and we have fun here.
Company culture is our main business strategy. It's the #1 priority of the company.
I think that we've always felt that competitors could copy our selection, they can copy our shipping, but one thing that could never be copied was our company culture.
From the very beginning, Fred and I interviewed every single person, but our criteria was really, would we want to go grab a drink with this person, even if we weren't in business together? And if the answer was no, then we just wouldn't hire that person.
That's kind of the idea behind the way that we hire here, is it's more important that we're getting the right people, the people that are going to fit into our culture, that are going to appreciate our culture, help grow our culture.
Performance reviews include whether you're living or inspiring the core values in others, but what we found is it's much, much easier just to spend the extra effort on the front end, and sometimes that means it'll take twice as long to fill a position, but if you get the culture right, then most of the other stuff like delivering great customer service or building a long-term enduring brand or business will just be a natural byproduct of that.
How are you contributing to the culture? Are you going outside your department and making friends outside your department? These are things that you actually get scored on in order to get promoted.
When you grow like we've grown throughout the years and you have so many new employees, they're responsible for creating this culture, maintaining it, and making it better.
We're allowed to feel free to say, hey, you know, it'd be fun if we all went for a hike. Cool, plan it, do it. That's something that they really stress too, is it's all up to everyone to scale this culture and to grow with the company as the company gets bigger.
You know, Tony and these guys figured out a long time ago that you actually can get your work done, be focused, but you can also, you know, be happy and have fun while you're doing that. I don't know, we're just happy to be here because we enjoy what we do. We enjoy each other too.
Zappos has a unique culture, and what's important is not that you have a Zappos culture, but that you have a set of core values and you define what your culture is.
No.
Can you hear me now? All right. Great. So just the main points of this video. I mean, first of all, it really looks like that. It's like Alice in Wonderland for the business world. I mean, I've been there for 3 years. I get surprised every day. But the main points were that it's not important to have the Zappos culture. Each company has to have their own culture. And what is culture? Culture is the people. So it's important to select the right people that fit in that mindset, even if it takes a long time to select them, because when you select the right people, guess what? You don't need managers. You don't need to manage those people. And that's another interesting part of the way Zappos innovates, is now we are in this organization called holocracy, which is self-organization. There's no managers. I joined as a manager. I'm not a manager anymore, and I couldn't be happier. right? There's no egos, nobody has an office. It's open space. Tony Hsieh has a desk like everybody else. And to show you what I mean by core values, it's these 10 statements that we have on our badges, literally. And I'll go through them fairly quickly. The first one is deliver wow through service. So every time when you serve customers or when you serve your internal customers, when you interact with your colleagues, try to go above and beyond so that they can say, wow, that person exceeded my expectations. Not only met my expectations, exceeded my expectations. Also, another one is embrace and drive change. Change is inevitable, and it's not only necessary to accept it, but be an agent of change, drive change. So when you go back to your organizations, what are you going to do to make a change? To say, what can we do to understand our customers better, right? And when somebody says, well, I don't know, I have my own people, so what can you do to say, how can we work together? Another one is create fun and a little weirdness. What does that mean? It literally means be yourself. So if you want to have long, spiky, pink hair, go ahead and do it. Nobody's going to really tell you anything about it. Be yourself. And it's fine to be a little weird. Be adventurous, creative, and open-minded. So again, when that translates into when somebody has an idea, the people that the first thing they say is, that's a bad idea. These people don't fit well in Zappos culture. So we try not to even hire that person with that mindset to begin with. And Terry Jones talked about this yesterday too. The person who always, shuts down an idea, and usually, sometimes it's like really people in power, executives that somebody gives an idea and then go, no, it didn't work, we tried it before, it didn't work, so no. Right? At Zappos, if somebody says no, they have to have a really valid reason and to say, okay, do you have data to show that this is not going to work? And if you don't have data, if it's just your gut feel, that's not good enough. And so, for example, the last value is really important. It's be humble. So to give you one story of when I joined Zappos, so usually when you join a new company, right, especially at a higher level, what do you expect to do at the first week, right? You get in your nice office, you meet your new colleagues, you have meetings. And at Zappos, everybody who joins Zappos, everybody, goes through 1 month of call center training, of customer service training. So we're in this basement, you are a VP somewhere else, you're sitting next to somebody who was a waiter somewhere else, and you're all learning how to serve customers. And you get on the phones the second, third day, and it's very hard. And once you've experienced this, you're never going to be mean to a customer service rep ever, right? Because it's very, very hard. And that's how you also create empathy for your customers, right? When you hear them with their struggle, when they call when something didn't work out. So I've been talking a lot about culture and a lot about how you break down silos and how you work. But in my work specifically, we do a ton of research to understand customers, and I'll go through some examples of the types of research that we do. And some of it is, I know we have a wonderful translator. Some of these are going to be technical terms, so I apologize if they're difficult to translate, but I'll do my best to go over them. And at the end, we'll have time for Q&A. So when I started, the first thing we did was to do psychographic or a mindset segmentation. Segmentation simply means that when you look at your customers, let's say you have 1 million customers. Do you think they're all the same? Who thinks all customers are the same? Like, people are not the same. And the more customers you have, the more different they're going to be. And you can segment them by different criteria, right? You can do demographic segmentation, gender, for example, men versus women, age. You can do by their income. Rich folks, not so rich folks. But this type of segmentation is the most boring and the least actionable, right? Everybody wants to go after rich people, right? I mean, and then, for example, Zappos, we have priced we have premium pricing on the website. There were a couple of years when we had 0 sales or promotions, 0, no sales. And we still have our customers stick with us, but guess what? If we went just by the demographic segmentation, a lot of, for example, rich people, they want to save money, right? So they are going to go after other companies that have sales. So it's not very actionable. But what we did was segmented people based on the values that Zappos brings to them. So, for example, personalization, great customer service, great quality products. And some people value those things, even packaging. I mean, how many of you like to get something in a nice package and to open it, right? The unboxing. Some of you like that, some don't. Some say, I don't care, I throw it away. That is a different mindset, right, in terms of even packaging. And when we did this big research with a lot of customers, we found a number of segments. And we identified the segments that these people did not care about discounts that much, right? I mean, everybody cares about discounts, but it's not the first thing that comes to their mind. So that's an example of a psychological segmentation. And we did that using really complicated math, and I look at this and I don't understand what this is. It's way over my head. But we work with people who understood that. And this is just an example. I've taken it from Google Images. So it's not, I'm not giving away the secret sauce, let me put it this way. This is just an example. And what we found, one of the big insights, was that there were 2 main factors that determined this segmentation. It was a factor that's more transactional, so customer service, shipping, pricing, all this stuff that is very practical, pragmatic. And there was an emotional factor which was very different and independent of the transactional one. And we picked like a pyramid to exemplify this for a very specific reason. It has a meaning. So, for example, without the bottom of the pyramid, what do you think? We can have like a top that just hovers in the air. It's not going to work, right? Everything will collapse without a solid foundation. So for Zappos, that is free shipping, 2-way shipping. No matter how many times you have to ship back and forth, we cover it. Very fast shipping, next day air. Great selection, right? This is the foundation. But without the emotional component, other companies are catching up very quickly, right? So what is going to be your kind of emotional component that is going to make you connect with your customers? That's a question for each one of you. Then we also we talked to a few of those customers, because when you do a big survey, a lot of data comes in, but it's just numbers, right? They're not people, right? And I don't know if you guys have heard of the story of the statistician who had his feet in a hot oven and his head in a bucket of ice cold water, but on the average felt fine. Right? It's a joke. There's no average person, right? And so that's why we needed to reach out and talk to 10, 20 customers. And we didn't use a phone like this, right? It's just a nice picture. But what we heard from them, this is a great quote from a customer. The site should say, I know that you bought this shoe in this size and color, whatever it is, and therefore this is what we recommend because we are paying attention to you. That is the meaning of real personalization. Nowadays, most sites, and Amazon does that great, and even Zappos does that. You just bought a pair of shoes, and guess what the site is doing? It's offering you 10 other shoes just like this one. I bought these shoes, why don't you buy more? How does that make you feel? Right? Do you need another pair just like this? No. But what if the site understood that you're going to a wedding, right? And you're buying a pair of shoes, then you say, have you thought of the hat? Right? Or say, when is the wedding? It's gonna rain, do you need an umbrella as well? Right? So that is when Terry Jones also talked about understanding intent, and that's the key. It's not what companies are doing right now, just offering you the same thing. Or for example, your wife or husband looked at something else, and now you're a guy and you're looking at a whole bunch of dresses, right, or women's shoes, just because somebody else looked on the side before you. Then we also went to people's homes, of course with their permission. We had a company recruit participants, and we went to people's homes and talked to them, and we looked at their closets, we looked at the clothes, we understood why they buy things, how they buy things. And then we did sessions as a whole team, from marketing, customer service. We all got together and we went through the notes, and we figured out what we learned. We also had people draw their mental map of the shopping experience. And then we had a designer kind of standardize all the drawings, because people just use stick figures or boxes and arrows. But this is how you get into the person's head, right? When I say, here's a piece of paper and a pen, draw the shopping experience from your point of view. And then when you look at 10, 20 of these, you start seeing patterns. So the result was not just a regular PowerPoint. At Zappos, in 3 years, I did only one PowerPoint. PowerPoints don't work. We created an interactive website that everybody from Zappos can go into and click around and look. And can you see it clearly? You need to have your eyes checked if you don't. No, I'm kidding. I just blurred it. I'm not giving away any secrets, but just to be on the safe side, it's a little bit blurred. So we created this website with describing the segments and what's important for each segment, how loyal are they, how much they rely on discounts, and so on. And then we created personas based on that. And persona is a very popular term now, and how many of you have personas or have heard of personas? Okay, it's very popular. It's a fictional kind of character. You give it a name, you take a picture, and you give it a little like life story. But if it's not based on actual data from a lot of customers, then you can be making those fictional personas all day long, right? And which one is gonna reflect reality, you don't know. So it's best to base personas on hardcore data and research that you have. So an example of persona. And then we also uploaded all the interviews to the website, and you could look at the transcripts and listen to the interviews. Everybody from the whole company could do it. So we're also very transparent with data and with insights. There's no secrets. And I also, when I do research and I crunch the numbers, I put in the raw data up there, and if another analyst wants to go and analyze it, please, they can go ahead and do that. Maybe I made a mistake, they can find an error in my calculation. So transparency is very important. Secrecy and silos, that kills innovation, that kills company culture. So how can we do away with the org chart when it comes to understanding customers? And let's look at the person as a whole. That's kind of my main message. So some of the key takeaways, which hopefully you can go and put in practice with your organizations, is understand the person, not the shopper. No silos when it comes to customer understanding. And this doesn't mean you have to do a reorg or you have to adopt the Zappos self-organization. No. You can go and work with your colleagues and talk to them and say, let's get together and let's plan the next research together. Use complementary research methods, not just surveys, not just looking at the transactional data. Talk to people, use everything together. And inform the business as a whole. And last but not least, culture matters. So I think we have some time for questions. Yeah. So we're gonna get a mic here.
Thank you. What has been your biggest challenge? Again, and the other one, what do you think that will be important to get on related to e-commerce? Thank you.
Okay, all right, I can start dancing up here.
Okay.
That's, I think, a cue for me to get the hell out of the stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Better.
Okay.
Yeah. The first one would be what has been the biggest challenge? Have you ever experienced it? And the other one, what trend do you think that is the biggest one or main for every one of us in the e-commerce industry right now?
So the challenge I've experienced, and then what would be a challenge for you guys?
Or the trend, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you. There have been quite a lot of challenges. One of the big challenges, especially when you understand you're joining a company that's very different, so there's no hierarchy. And so if I had joined a company as a VP, right, I have power. I would say, do this, and people do it, right? At Zappos, you cannot do this. At Zappos, you have to, it's more entrepreneurial. So when I joined Zappos, there wasn't really a program in place to listen to customers who just went on the website. So if you call on the phone, we have the best customer service ever. But if you went on the website, there's a tiny link on the bottom says, give me feedback. And nobody was looking at what people are saying. And most people go to the website. Not so many people call the phones, right? So we started a program called Voice of the Customer, give customers a voice through the website. And initially, we didn't have an easy tool. And we're talking about a very simple form, very simple survey, 3-4 questions. And I would go and ask engineers, can you do this for me? And a lot of them would know, I'm busy. And then a year and a half, and then one person said, okay. And they did it in 2 weeks. And now we have our, this obstacle was cleared. But it took a lot of patience, and you have to be patient, and you have to have natural leadership. You cannot rely on your title. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges. And I would say maybe, I don't know your organizations, but especially if you work at a big organization, it's these silos, right? And how you break them, and how you make the whole organization be customer-centric. But truly customer-centric, not just how many things we sell. There were scandals now in the United States, Wells Fargo, right? People were incentivized to create fake accounts or many accounts. People didn't want these accounts. Many people didn't know they had many accounts, right? How is that customer-centric, right? So I'm talking about, this is, for example, a culture that's opposite of Zappos, and they're trying to change it. But where is your culture? Is it about making profits at any cost, or is it about making customers happy? And look at Amazon, right? So Zappos is part of Amazon. And it's a good fit because Jeff Bezos said many years ago, he said, anything we do pays off for our customers right away, but pays off for us in 5 to 7 years. And they're fine with that. Any other questions? Or you want to see me dancing? We can have the music on. Yes, we have another one. Can we have the mic over here?
Bueno, here. You were talking about your methodology backwards in your presentation. Could you explain it better?
Which part?
About your methodology.
Oh, the methodology?
Yeah, and how you define the emotional approach to every purchase you have.
Okay, so so describe the methodology and then how we define an emotional approach?
Yeah, please.
Okay. A big part of what my message was that there's not one methodology, right? We used very different methods. So a survey, for example, right? A survey done the right way, and you need to have experts, because it's very, everybody feels like, oh, I can ask questions, right? But then you can ask the wrong questions, like, you like this, right? Or how, journalists in the United States, they're very neutral. How terrified were you when that happened? Like, I was not terrified. But so leading questions, so surveys, then interviews, talk to people, that's a very different method. Then you can do home visits, called ethnographic approach. So, I mean, to cover all of these, we need like a week or so. We can be doing workshops on any of these. But what we found from the survey was we asked many questions, and then asked that 4,000 people answered, let's say, 18 key questions. So imagine how much data that is. And then we had a statistician who helped us cluster using some very complicated statistical technique, k-means clustering. I don't know what that means, but he does. And basically he found that some questions clustered together, and some of these questions were clearly emotional. So one of them was, I want to have an emotional connection to the brand, right? Or I want the brand to show me a personalized approach that makes me feel special. So these were the emotional component. And we found it through the research, right? We didn't start with that. Hopefully I answered the question. Yeah. With competition? So the question was how we deal with competition. It's interesting. In other companies that I've been at, understanding the competitors has been a top priority. At Zappos, it's not. It's almost like, now they're starting to pay more attention, but it's almost like focus on your customer and focus on your employees. Of course, we need to understand the competition. So in our surveys, we understand whether people, for example, go to the store. That's a competition for us. Whether they go to Nordstrom, right? The Nordstrom store, Nordstrom website. So we need to also respond. People are price sensitive to some extent, right? Our core customer is not that price sensitive, but when everybody else has sales, we couldn't go for years without a sale, right? So that's again responding to the competition. It was, you had a question? Yeah, okay.
Hello, Alex?
Yeah. We had a...
Alex, here at your left.
Oh, hold just 1 second. This person, we'll get to your question. So.
Hi.
Hi.
It was just kind of like the question he asked about if it is important for a small business. I'm actually just starting a business of fashion, but I'm just entering into the e-commerce part, so it's just like a whole new world for me.
Uh-huh.
And I just want to know if it is important from the beginning of the business to actually have this attention to the client. As you said, you did it through research and through a lot of investigation to your client. Do you think it should be like something that your business should have from the beginning till the end? I mean, always take care of the customer more than the product?
Right.
Or?
Right. So the question was, when you start a small business, I'm just repeating the question, should you have all this research rigor from the very beginning?
Yeah, so you could totally treat your client as the most important thing to your business, not looking for the product, just looking ahead to the...
Absolutely. So I would say yes, and it's not just the research. So for example, at Zappos, we have a very specialized research group. We have data scientists, it's a big company, right? But it doesn't, our research mindset doesn't have to be that. It's a customer-centric mindset, right? So if you always think about, okay, maybe the customer is not like me. If your customers are just like you don't have to do any research. You know them, right?
Okay.
So, and also, there's other businesses. So, for example, the corner coffee shop, right? They sell coffee, they sell pastries. They can go around the neighborhood and see the pricing. Like, I don't know how much research you need to do, right, for some businesses, but for other businesses, especially if you have, millions of customers, then they cannot be all alike. So you need to understand what's important. But the whole mindset of, I'm doing this for my customer, the customer is always right, that will guarantee success.
Hello? Alex? My question is about conversion attribution. When you use different software, they have like different versions. Like you have like software for email marketing, you use AdWords, Facebook. But at the end, how you guys merge all that information and develop a better way to understand as personas, not as cookies, and understand the customer journey and identify what is the best customers or what is the best marketing campaigns that you guys use or best offers?
Great. So yeah, the question was how you look at the transactional data and put it together with the personality data. So that's a great question. Zappos has a big team of analysts and data scientists that looks just at the transactional database. And I personally don't want to go anywhere near the transaction. There are millions of clicks or, like dollar amounts and so on. That's a very highly protected data, because data privacy and security is the #1 priority for Amazon and for Zappos. So what we do is we work very closely together with those guys, and we say, okay, you have this transactional data, the attribution, the marketing data and all that stuff, and here's another layer on top of it to explain not only what people do, because with the attribution and with the marketing data and transactional data, you know what people are doing, but you don't know why they're doing it. So that's what we bring to the table. We understand why people do things. Right, so I hopefully did that answer your question?
Yes, but I think if there's another way, as not just as at Zappos or Amazon, but let's say a medium-sized company, to organize all that information and understand better the customer.
I think the key thing is to keep all the information in one database as much as possible, right? So you have every row is a customer, and then that customer transacted through the years, right? And then they gave you ratings on a rating scale, or they gave you a comment, right? And to tie it all through time, right? That's the key. If your information about the same person is in different databases, it's no good. Then you don't have a focus on that customer, and you cannot understand them as a person. I mean, especially through time, like how valuable is it to understand people as their lives change and as their needs change, right? But you need to keep it in the same database and tie it to the same person. It's tricky. It's tricky. Like, I mean, we don't have all the data in one place either. We've been working on this. Great question.
Thanks.
Yeah, we have one more over there.
Hi. As I understood, you were doing market research with your current customers. But what about with your potential customers? Did you develop something for them?
That's a wonderful question. We focus primarily on our current customer. That's absolutely right. But we also try to understand the potential customer, the prospect. That's why with almost every research, we have a big survey with our current customers and the exact same survey with the general population. So, and with our current customer, it's easy because we have all their email information, and for people who have agreed to receive emails from us, we can simply send an email blast and with a survey link, and they click it, and right. And then for general population, we work with specialized companies that have millions, tens of millions of people that have signed up to do that kind of research. So, and then we pay those companies for each completed survey. And we usually do 1,000 to 2,000 people answering each survey to have a good sense that, okay, this is a representative of the population.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, sure.